Shalom, this is an emergency broadcast alert, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashin Yahushai. Now, I noticed that I made this video and then there was something that I left out, and unfortunately, that's something I have to deal with because of my condition. That sometimes I'm talking and I leave things out, and I am practicing really hard to, you know, get rid of that. But anyways, I'm gonna make the very first part of the video that I made. It was about a dream, and I'm gonna go back to that. And when it comes to the part where I left out, I'll just say it and let it be, and we'll continue as is. Shalom. Shalom. This is an emergency broadcast alert, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakadash, in whom we are in great debt. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well, continue doing so, standing firm in the eyes of Torah, who I learned truth from. To the elders, the bishops, Akim and Aquab, salutations and blessings to the house of David. We are the hopeful elect GMS. This is your brother Quasiyar, which is in English harvest, with another video. And before I show you what I found with this Jake here, I would like to speak on a dream that I had last night. And Salakia for the noise, because it's vexing for me to hear that noise to make these videos. Sometimes I don't even have the energy to make the video. But today it seemed like there's something important I must say. As I am dreaming, I'm walking down the street where it looks like it would be 43rd, that newspaper factory that's there. And if you're not aware, um, 42nd was the center of it all of New York. Okay, everybody, all commercial, people who travel will come to visit New York. They would go to 42nd. Right, that would be the center of all. So all tourists, which that's what they call them, the Edomites, so-called white people, they would, uh, how should I say? What's the word I'm looking for? They came to enjoy the fruits and labor of the slaves, their slaves, Jake, the children of Israel, who created everything for them in Manhattan. But instead of being in the right side, which it is, if you're walking, if you're walking on 43rd, it's on your right side between Broadway and 7th, or is it 6th? I don't know. Anyways, the thing is this: it was on the opposite side, and I'm walking, and all I see is so-called white people. And there's this white tall woman who walks really slow, and she looks at me and stares. And as she's walking, she's giving me this stare, like she's not too happy to see me, but she's giving. And I'll play that again, that little piece. But if you haven't noticed, Yahweh Shem Shai is turning Esau's world upside down, and that white woman represents America. And I was contemplating on it after I made the video because I didn't have a chance to contemplate the dream whatsoever, because I just put it up as soon as I had the dream. I just, did what I had to do around the house real quick, brush my teeth, etc., etc., right? And when I sat down, I just needed to put that video out as fresh. because sometimes you wait a little longer than usual, and by the time you make the video, you don't remember exactly everything in detail. So yeah, let's go back a little, just a little bit. She's not too happy to see me, but she's giving me a smile. And so I keep walking and I look at my clothes and I'm like, I'm dressed, like a CEO type person, would dress in Esau's office. And mind you, I do have clothing that normally Esau, so-called white man, does wear, but is jaked out. Like, is jaked out, right? So I have the clothing, but I have a rhythm to my matching my clothes, okay? And as I keep walking, I see myself in a factory similar to the newspaper place, but in this factory they make all kind of stuff, gloves. They make, the everyday things. And when I walk in, all I could see was, uh, like officers, with helmets. I'm walking in and they looking at me and and the thing about this is that I can see them, but all right, so you know how they say that an angel watches over you? Well, I am seeing everything through the eyes of the angel. So I'm walking, and the angel is hovering above me, behind me. So I can see the guards looking at me and making gestures like, who is this guy? Right? And then as I walk, there are sections. There's trucks. There's uh, a place where you can see that they have like curtains, but they made of plastic. And so the Lord revealed to me that this is a factory where normal people would actually work, but they turned it into some sort of prison, aka, butcher shop, butcher shop for people. And I'm looking, and you really can't see inside. And then I come into another section, and I stop to look at my phone briefly. And then there's this person there, like loading boxes into a car, and then he shuts the door, and it the door was pretty shut really pretty quick. But now that I had the time to meditate on it, I believe that that person was carrying out body parts. And I'm looking at him, and he tells me, can he help me? And I'm like, oh no, I'm just walking through. And at the same time, like, I look over to the other side of the unit that I'm in, and instead of regular doors, it's like curtains. Like, but these curtains are heavy plastic curtains, and they shutting down, and everything is being shut down. Like all around me, they closing the doors, and so. And when I meant that, I mean like they closing the place down for like they're going to lunch, or they're closing it down temporarily. Like they just like keeping everything inside. Like I said, it looks like they going to lunch or something like in that manner. And I got caught inside because I was about to leave the place, but I couldn't leave because of that. That's how fast they shut. And mind you, um, the angel that I could see everything through the angel's eyes because he's hovering above me. You know how have you seen those cameras with the drones, right? Okay. I look back and there's a desk. There's actually a couple of desks. There's one that's a floor desk, and then there's the one where there's a hover desk. And if you don't want to know, if so, like if you don't know what a hover desk is, it's one of those. Uh, it's like a more like a shelf type sticking out of the wall that you can use, which Esau uses as to put items on, and he uses as a desk. And then there's a clock there, like the clock in clock. And I'm looking at it, and it says it's 2 o'clock. Well, I can't really tell if it's 2 o'clock, but it says I know the short needle is two, and the big needle is like pointing down somewhere, but I can't really see that needle, right? And then these Edomites, and I'm telling you, this is only Edomites, so-called white people coming out, you know, and they looking at me, and they old, they're not young. There's nobody young there, and that represents Esau, Edom, the one is a so-called whites that know what's going on, that they know that they need to eradicate the children of Israel, in other words, in order for them to move on. That's the only way they're going to maintain their blessing. This is what they think. This is what they think. Except for the the security that was there. They were the only ones that were young. And then there's one particular guy that walks out, and he sees me, and he says, "You're not from here, are you?" And mind you, this guy, he was not as old as the other people that I saw working. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, you don't work in this area, do you? And I'm like, no, I'm just walking through. And he says, well, since you're here, uh, can I help you with anything? And I'm like, no, I'm just walking through. And he says, you look like an Ephraimite, a black Ephraimite. And I said, well, you should know, but I am not black. My people are not black. Oh, that's right. You're an Israelite. And I'm like, well, you should know your people brought us here a long time ago. And he says, oh, yes, 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 I know. We all know the story. Everybody here knows, of your people. Would you like to come to our celebration? We celebrate, I don't know what he said, I don't remember, but he says we celebrate you all the time. And I'm like, celebrate me all the time? Yeah, we eat and drink and we celebrate your kind all the time. And I'm like, really? And he says, yeah, well, you can come and eat and whatnot. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to eat your food, really. And at that moment, also, he says, you believe that you are going to be the next rulers of the earth, don't you? I wouldn't feel comfortable eating your food, And he says, yes, I understand why you might feel uncomfortable. And mind you, as I'm talking to him, the angel wasn't reflecting anything around me. And that's when he says it, because I'm only talking to him, like everybody else is not there at the moment. And that's when he tells me that you believe your people are next to rule. In somewhat words, I can't even remember exactly the words that he used, but that's what he meant. And then the angel comes back into vision. I see the vision of the place again, and all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, I'm at their celebration, which is not a party because it's more of a a celebration, a cult celebration, a what do you call it? A celebrating a massacre of and a pillaging of the people. All right, a constant, and I was brought there so I could participate or get eaten or something like that. And the angel of the Lord just takes me out at the last minute. For the period of time that I was talking to that individual, I didn't see anybody else. I didn't see anything else. And then suddenly I was flashed into a room where he was talking to a crowd of people and they were eating blood cakes. They were eating cakes with that had blood and they were offering me and I'm like, no, I don't want none of that. And I would look over and there was a room with those curtains again. And then he looks at me. He sticks out his hand like to introduce me, and I wake up. So so it brings me also because I see. All right, so that's the part of the dream. So now the reason why I kept this picture of the Jake right here of the actually the fruit that brought me to attention, and of course, you know, Jake. This is First Corinthians 15 verse 20. But now in Yahushua risen from the dead and become the first fruit of them that slept. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua.